In this tutorial I'll show you how to use the Blender game engine to control the rig of an android so that you can use the arrow keys to move him around. The starting point for this tutorial is this file, which I'll put at my website freemovies.co.uk at the Blender channel there. In pose mode I'm going to go to the view menu and I'm going to toggle quad view. I'm going to select a leg, I'm going to press G to grab and move it forward. I'm going to select the other leg, G to grab and move it back. Make sure, hold down shift, both legs are selected and insert keyframes location rotation. I'm going to set the total length of animation to 10 frames. And I'm going to click this button to go to frame 10 and I'm going to insert keyframes available. I'm going to go to frame 5, I'm going into the pose menu and I'm going to copy the pose, and back to the pose menu and paste X flipped, and then I'm going to insert keyframes available and press play, and the legs waggle back and forth in the simplest possible walk cycle. I want to save the walk as an action, so I'm going to go into the dope sheet window. In the dope sheet window I'm going to change from dope sheet view to action editor view, and I'm going to name the action walk, and I'm going to click the F button so that the walk action is saved, whether it's the current action for the Android or not. I'm going to click this plus here to create a new action, and I'm going to name the new action stand for stand still. I'm going to click in the keyframes area and press the delete button to delete all the keyframes. In the 3D view I'm going to press A twice so that all the bones are selected. In the pose menu I'm going to go to clear transform and clear all. I'm going to set the total length of the animation to be 1 frame, and moving this over I'm going to go to frame 1. Now make sure in the action editor that the stand action is selected. Go to insert keyframes, insert location rotation, and that creates the action, and click the F so that the action is saved, whether it's the current action of the Android or not. I finished with the action editor, so I'm just going to tidy up a little bit, put this back to be a properties window. I'm going to change the layout from default to game logic. I'm going to change the view to right and zoom in with the mouse wheel. I don't need any game properties, so I'm going to close this side panel and zoom in with the mouse wheel and just pan a little bit to get ready to add some logic bricks. I'm going to add a keyboard sensor, an AND controller and an Action Actuator. Press any key. I'm pressing the up arrow, and when you press the up arrow a signal will pass straight through an AND gate into the Action Actuator and will play the walk action. Set it to loop stop. Set the start frame to 1 and the end frame to frame 10. Change the Blender render to Blender game. Change the pose mode to object mode and start. And when I press the up arrow the legs waggle, and when I release they stop. Press escape. I'm now going to add logic gates so that the Android is always in the stand pose. I'm going to close up these logic gates. I'm going to add an always sensor. I'm going to add an AND controller and an Action Actuator. The always sensor will send a signal every clock pulse, which will go straight through the AND gate, and we will play the stand action, or we will loop stop it, and that will start at frame 1 and end at frame 1. Now this is where version 2.6 differs. We must increase the priority number, and this will make this lower priority, so that when we start the game, when I press the up arrow, that takes priority, but as soon as I release, the Android goes into the stand pose. Press escape. I'm going to call this logic brick stand, because it plays the stand action. I'm going to close up the 3 logic bricks and move them up using these arrows to get them out of the way. I'm going to call this logic brick forward. When you press the up arrow, the Android goes forward, and this logic brick walk because it plays the action walk. Close those up. To make the Android move forward, I have to add a motion actuator. If we look at the green arrow, that is pointing in the positive Y direction. For the Android to go forward, we'll have to enter a negative Y value, minus 0.05 blender units. If I connect that up and start the game engine and press the forward up arrow, off he goes. I'm going to name this logic brick forward. But if he carries on going forwards, he's going to disappear into the distance. So we must have some way of making him turn. I'm going to add a keyboard sensor, an AND controller, and a motion actuator. I'm going to press the left arrow and call the logic brick left. I'm going to connect these up. And when we press the left arrow, I want the Android to rotate 1 degree about the Z or Z axis, and we'll call this left as well. Now as he turns, I'm going to have his legs waggling, so I'm going to connect up to the walk action. I'm going to change the view to the back view and turn perspective on, and start the game engine, press the up arrow, off he goes. But now as I press the left arrow, we can turn and turn it loop back like so. To make the Android turn to the right, I need to add 3 more logic bricks. I'm going to add a keyboard sensor, I'm going to add an AND controller, and I'm going to add a motion actuator. I'm going to press the right arrow and name this logic brick right. I'm going to connect that up and name this logic brick right. And when the right arrow is pressed, the motion I want is a rotation of minus 1 degree about the Z or Z axis. I'm going to connect the AND gate to the walk action so that he waggles his legs as he turns to the right. And finally I'm going to do the back arrow. So I'm going to add a keyboard sensor, an AND controller, and a motion actuator. And I'm going to press the back arrow and name the logic brick back. Connect that up and name this logic brick back, and this time positive 0.05 blender units in the Y direction. I'm going to connect the AND gate to the walk action so that he waggles his legs as he goes back. That's the end of the tutorial. I'll put the start file, the end file at my website freemovies.co.uk at the Blender channel there. Thanks for watching and goodbye.